Bandidos, what up? Today we're diving into the best builds in the Division 2 right now. Whether you're a newcomer just getting your feet wet or a seasoned vet who's seen it all, we've got something for everyone. We're just about midway through Year 6 Season 3, and as always, the game's shifted with new gear, exotics, weapons, and modifiers. We're going to break down builds for every kind of player. If you're all about rushing in and smashing enemies up close, we've got aggressive setups that'll make you a beast. More into playing smart with tactics? We've got those too. Plus, we're covering DPS monsters for the damage chasers and skill builds for anyone who loves getting creative. Whatever your vibe, there's a build here for you. These aren't just random setups either. They're dialed into the current meta, making the most of the latest gear and modifiers. We'll walk you through the deets and hook you up with the practical tips and tricks for each one. So grab your gear, get comfy, let's do this.
Wait, did we just become best friends? So nice to meet you, I think you're cool.
Piece of shit wristwatch.
Oh yeah, the first one we are showcasing is the Chameleon build paired up with the Exodus exotic gloves. And it's really easy to overlook why it's so cool and why it works so well. There's a synergy going on here between the Chameleon exotic and the gloves. First off, the Chameleon exotic assault rifle has health damage targets that are covered. We got a really nice juicy RPM with 50 rounds in the mag. And this basically gives you all the crit chance you need for your build. And it's all about adaptive instincts. So 65 body shots, that's 90% weapon damage for 45 seconds. Hitting some headshots gives you 20% crit chance and 50% critical hit damage. But it's at the very bottom that we're interested in. Buffs refresh when out of combat. Okay, so the Exodus gloves, smoke screen. On armor break, drop a smoke bomb at your feet, concealing you from enemies for 3 seconds, and that's a 40-second cooldown. While that's happening, you are considered out of combat, so you get your armor back, it heals up. Sometimes all the way, sometimes not. Because you're considered out of combat, that's going to reset the timer on your Chameleon. Refreshing that 45 seconds is a big deal, and you can take that a long ways when clearing some of the toughest content, like legendary missions or heroic control points where there's nothing but elites. We're running 4 pieces of Striker, and that's because it's point shoot. This is one of the best DPS setups you can have in the game. It gives you weapon handling, rate of fire, and 100 stacks of Striker's Gamble, which is amplified damage at 0.65%. And then we're running the chest piece. You absolutely want to run the chest piece, even if you're doing heroic solo, even if you're doing a legendary, because you're going to get press the advantage, which is going to give you another extra 100 stacks of that amplified damage, pushing you to 200. The enemies are really tanky if you're doing heroic solo control points in legendary, of course. The deal is your RPMs are so high on this weapon at 1035 that you're building those stacks up really easy and able to maintain them very easy. Otherwise, I have crits everywhere on the build, and I have about 42% crit chance. And remember, when you get your weapon buffs kicking in, that's going to push to 60%, technically beyond the cap. And then we have 152% critical hit damage, and you're going to get another 50% there too. So you'll push to 200%. So you'll be at 60% and 203%. And then I'm running Grupo as a backpack. We're rocking a shield, and that's going to protect our vigilance, which is giving us additional 25% weapon damage. I'm running their regular Crusader shield. Nothing special about this. For the specialization, I strongly recommend Sharpshooter. You're going to be seeing this a lot, and that's because of the tactician drone, which pulses targets on a regular interval. There's this thing called microwave coils that's going to catch them on fire and help you build up the momentum. The momentum is more DPS. You don't want to miss out on that. That's going to give your skills overcharge, but because of the modifiers, our Crusader shield is going to be invulnerable. They're not going to be able to break it. That allows me to run all of this red and just rely on the Exodus gloves for armor break, which is going to happen often enough, surely. All right, let's do a quick rundown on the modifier so we don't have to repeat this stuff for every single build. The key modifier, or the global one, is called Rogue Momentum. The gist is you want to get to the unstoppable state as fast as possible and hold on to it as long as possible. That's considered maximum momentum, which is going to give you 20% weapon damage and skill damage, 20% movement speed, 20% reload speed, and 20% rate of fire. The real kicker, skill overcharge, as long as you're in the unstoppable state. This is absolutely the meta for the season, and it makes the game extremely fun. The active modifier I recommend for just about every build is going to be Overdrive. This is going to push you to that unstoppable state I just talked about immediately. This is also going to give you 10 seconds of some serious damage boosts. Now, for every build, this is going to change just a little bit, but the key one to point out is microwave coils. It's amazing for crowd control, but also at building and maintaining that momentum. And then for crit-based builds, you want critical momentum and critical recovery. These are the other two. For skill damage builds, you want momentum surge and aggressive drone if you're running the drone. One last thing, The best way to pulse enemies and to activate the microwave coils is the tactician drone. It's got an extremely long duration and scan range. You only get this skill if you have the sharpshooter specialization equipped. If you're not running modifiers, all of these builds are the best of the best and will function without modifiers. The thing that you'll probably want to change will be the specialization and maybe that scanner skill if you're not going to be running the modifiers. Don't like going all red? Sick of running striker? That's where the Heartbreaker build comes in. It's all about pulse. That's what Heartbreaker does. So it gives you LMG damage, which is what we're running, weapon handling, and then you're going to get 1% bonus armor and 1.1% weapon damage to pulse enemies up to a max stack of 50 stacks. Now you could rely on the headshots to get that pulse, but you're just not going to get the stacks that you need if you do that. Highly not recommended. Otherwise, I got armor and crit damage everywhere, and the chest doubles our stacks from 50 to 100. And then I'm running the backpack because that's going to double our bonus armor. So now you got 200% bonus armor. I'm running the contractor's gloves because we love that damage to armor and LMG damage. Just put crits everywhere on the build. I'm at 40% and 94% critical hit damage. Remember that you are going to get more crit damage from blacklisted targets, the guys that have that little symbol over their head when you kill them. They're going to give you 10% weapon handling and crit chance. The blue screen is absolutely a beast. Basically, build as many stacks as you can on as many enemies as you can. That's going to apply a status effect when you either interact with the skill or you kill one of those targets that has a stack. So the first 10 stacks will allow you to pulse targets, so that's going to help. 11 to 25 stacks will allow you to pulse and disrupt. 26 to 49 is pulse, disrupt, and disorient. And then when you get to 50 stacks, you're going to be able to apply the status effects to all hostiles within 10 meters of the marked target. That is where the Night Watcher mask comes in. Do not skip this piece. If you do, you're not going to get the benefit of the build. Night Watcher gives you 100% scanner pulse haste, a very easy piece to farm. I got crits all over it. And with it, you want to run the scanner pulse. You do not want to run the tactician drone with this build. That's because the tactician drone has a very long duration and you need to actually interact with your skill often in order to trigger those status effects on demand from the blue screen. Do not just rely on kills. You're not going to be able to build stacks fast enough, and you're not going to be able to crowd control as well as this setup. The other thing is that because you're going to be on overcharge all the time, you and your allies' damage is going to be amplified by 15% to pulse targets. Crazy. And then the other skill, you can do whatever. I just like the Mender Seeker because it heals me and my team, and I feel like this is a really good support build, although you can run it solo. But it's hands off. I don't have to think about this one, and this one I'm triggering as often as I can to make sure I'm constantly staggering the enemies. That's what you want to do. To go with the survivalist specialization because that's going to give more damage to status affected targets for my teammates. For me, it's giving me 10% protection from elites. Hey, a quick note for you new players. Hey, you're going to see a few weapons that have really high expertise, but don't fret. None of these builds are performing because of that expertise. I've done whole breakdowns on these if you want to know more behind what expertise is and how it impacts your gameplay. Expertise is nice. We want to take advantage of it, but for most builds, it's not really game-changing type damage. My recommendation for players is that if you use the weapon often enough, then at least put 12% expertise on that weapon, which isn't going to cost you any rare materials. Up to 12% only requires basic materials. If it's a weapon you're going to use a lot, if it's a favorite weapon, then max out your expertise because of course we want every advantage we can in this game. Everybody needs to have at least one really good skill build in their arsenal. This is the one. There are stronger skill builds out there, but they don't provide as much value to you or the team as this one. And this has enough damage to get the job done. It's all about the brand new Refactor gear set. You get status effects ignore. You get 25% skill damage. And then return to sender. So receive repairs of 10% of your damage dealt by your skills. This is not a little bit of healing. This is a lot of healing. This will keep your armor bar full and your allies receive even more. So they're going to love you for this. The assault rifle is called the capacitor capacitance, which is going to give you 60% more skill damage, 7.5% more weapon damage per skill tier, and you're going to be rocking 6 skill tiers, making the most out of that. I have crits everywhere on the build with a little bit of armor. For the chest piece, I am running Cheska for more crit chance. I have kinetic momentum that is giving me 15% more skill damage to each of my skills. And then for the backpack, I run the memento. It's going to give you 30% skill efficiency when you have 30 mementos collected. And when you grab a fresh trophy, it's going to give you 5% skill efficiency per trophy, per skill tier that you have. And you have 6 of those, so that's 30% skill efficiency boost, and those stack, which is crazy. You're also going to get 10% bonus armor when you pick up one of those trophies. That's 10% bonus armor per blue core. You have 2 of those, so that's 20% bonus armor. You're also going to get an additional 30% weapon damage, and behind all of that, you get 3% armor regen. I do have 1 armor core, and that is on the gloves, and it actually comes with armor. We have 58% crit chance and 111% crit damage. If you are looking for a different backpack, look for the Hannah U named backpack that has perfect combined arms. You want 2 damage skills on this one that put out consistent damage, so the striker drone does really well, as well as the assault turret. You want Technician because that's going to give you additional damage to enemy tech, as well as an extra skill tier. And that is your beautiful skill build that both you and your team are going to love. We got another LMG build for you today, and this one's featuring the exotic Pestilence. And this season, man, it's never felt better. So it comes with Plague of the Outcasts, which is going to deal a debuff to enemies that's 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds. This stacks up to 50 times, and when that enemy dies, it's going to transfer over to a nearby enemy within 25 meters, and they raise the RPM on it, which makes it amazing. So we're running it on a 4-piece ongoing directive, and everything has crits. I have it at 52% chance and 105% crit damage. Ongoing directive gives the status effects, which is great, reload speed, which is awesome, and then rules of engagement. When you kill an enemy with the status effect, you're going to get a hollow point ammo, and that's going to give you amplified damage by 20% and applies bleed on hit. And then if you run the chest piece, it's going to push that amplified damage to 50%. That's crazy. For the backpack, we're running the Backbone. This gives us explosive resistance, weapon damage, and crits, perfectly unstoppable. Killing an enemy increases total weapon damage by 7% for 15 seconds and stacks up to 5 times. Because your direct weapon impact plus the Plague of the Outcasts are going around killing enemies, you get to max stacks really fast, and this ends up being more damage than Vigilance. Now the knees are brand new. These are the Turmoil named Cheska knee pads. You could actually put them on any of the builds that I've showcased so far. So weapon damage and crits, and then Bewildered. So when dealing damage to an enemy, 50% of that damage will be dealt to another enemy within 30 meters instead. And then when there are no enemies, it's just going to be the same damage that you would deal. So the target that you're focus firing on is going to receive less damage, but that damage does get applied to somebody else, and then multipliers kick in on that at more than you would expect, so it ends up being a net gain in most situations. That hollow point ammo also goes to your team, so they're going to love you for that. If you are playing in a team, you might switch out Unstoppable Force for something like Vigilance. And because we're always on overcharge, again, we're going to get more amplified damage, and so is our allies. Looking for a really good sniper build? This one's one of the best, if not the best, arguably. That's because of the brand new Turmoil knee pads that allow you to have 2-for-1 when it comes to kills. Yep, we're talking about these. Bewildered, so when dealing weapon damage to an enemy, 50% of that damage will be dealt to another enemy. Yeah, so that's going to make your first kill a little bit sluggish, but once you get the ball rolling on Headhunter, which is your chest piece talent, you're going to reach your cap, and you're going to be able to take out 2 targets with a single shot, because Turmoil ignores the cap and allows both kills to receive that cap damage. So what Headhunter does is it deals an additional 125% damage from a headshot killing blow on the next shot, and it'll continue to do that until you reach a cap of 1,250%, as long as your headshot damage is 150%, which on the sniper build is going to be really easy to do. Use whatever sniper you want. I'm just using the White Death. This has really good base damage and headshot damage, so I'm using the digital scope. We got reload speed and stability, and then Determined is really important. So after killing an enemy with a headshot, the next landed on any enemy will be a guaranteed headshot, and then you can land body shots and it'll still count as a headshot, so you can kill 2 enemies with a shot to the chest. Really cool. For the backpack, I'm running another Habsburg for 20% marksman rifle damage, and then I have Vigilance. Could also put the Memento back here, or even the Ninja Bike backpack if you wanted to get creative. I'm running 3 pieces of Hotshot, and they're all going to look like this with headshot damage and weapon damage. You're still going to want to run Sharpshooter, and the decoy is going to be key, as well as the Tactician drone for crowd control. But here's the thing. This build doesn't really need modifiers to perform, but of course you want your modifiers because they're going to help you clear content even faster, especially with the crowd control capabilities. But you don't want to start catching people on fire with your microwave coils until you get your Determined active. So remember that. Otherwise, headshots are really hard to land. For stats, 340% headshot damage, that's a beast. And then we have 30% weapon handling and 85% stability. We do have the new hand basket MMR that we just got delivered last week. It's actually a really good MMR, although I do believe it'll be a lot of people's favorite going forward. I'm not including it in the best build series because I still need to tinker with it to decide how I want to recommend it for you folks. So that's it. I tried to go as fast as possible and leave ample time for you to take screenshots. These truly are tried and tested builds by myself and the community. I hope you enjoy them. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm Tuxedo Bandido, and if you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on the good stuff I have coming for you. And if you like content like this, be sure to check out the video I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you would like me to cover, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make things possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be the same without you.
When you buy a game from Ubisoft, enter the creator code Tuxedo Bandido to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Wait, did we just become best friends?